My name is James Ruvalcaba. I am the author of The Light Through the Pouring Rain. I appreciate your time. You could have been anywhere in the world, so I appreciate you spending one moment of your time here with us. This is episode 3 of our interview series. Let's continue where we left off.
All right, so let's talk about you and Annabelle's relationship now. How did you guys meet? Like, where did you meet, and how did that day or night go?
We had just moved from another city to where she was working at. As my older brother was driving on a main street, he said, "This employer right here is hiring. You should do it." And at that time, I was still in the special ed field, so I had a school schedule. I was working from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. If I wasn't going to school that day, I had enough time for a part-time job. So I saw the establishment. I completely spammed them with a bunch of applications, phone calls, give me an interview. Got the interview the next day, killed it, got hired. I was a seasonal worker at this place, and it took a little bit of time before I got to see Annabelle first. She was just a name on the schedule, like I didn't know who she was. And then one day I went on break, and I saw somebody's purse on the chair. So I got the purse and I moved it and I put it into another chair so I could sit there. Going about my lunch and stuff, I hear this little, I heard these feet stomping, and then I see her and she's like, "Excuse me, that's my purse you just moved." And I said, "Uh-huh, and what? Like, what's the problem here?" She's like, "You don't get to put your hands on your purse." I was like, and she just kept going on for minutes at a time, just yelling at me. I was like, "All this time you spent complaining at me, you could have already moved your purse back, and you could have just sat here." And she stormed off. And that was my first impression of her for 2 whole months. I don't see her again. And we had a seasonal party to kind of say goodbye to our seasonal employees. I actually got retained. And our manager at the time had a slot machine, and it had no real money in it, but he said whoever gets the highest win, like the highest jackpot, gets free movie tickets. And for myself, on the first try, I pulled the lever and I got the jackpot. And man, do I wish that was real. I really wish I would have won some real money here, but I won, and I'm terrible at body language and hints, so I really didn't understand what she was doing. But she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I see you have 2 movie tickets. If you need another person to go with, I'd be happy to go with you." And me being naive and stupid, I was like, "Yeah, maybe, yeah, it sounds good." I really didn't understand what she was hinting at. But yeah, after that party, we exchanged phone numbers, and the rest is kind of history from there. We went on a date, and this is where Annabelle really got to establish who she was, because we went on a date at first, and I have terrible luck with females, absolute terrible luck. So up to this point, me striking out was nothing out of the ordinary. So we go to this park, and we were just supposed to catch up and talk, like actually face to face outside of work. And she gets a phone call, and it's our coworker's like, "Hey, come to the bowling alley." And I was like, there we go. There's a strikeout, like I'm going to get friend zoned or something like that. Here we go again. So we go to the bowling alley, and I'm not a pimp, but anyways, you just heard me say I strike out all the time. So at this time, apparently from what I heard later on in years to come, that our female coworkers liked me, and I had no idea. So we go to the bowling alley, and all these girls are paying me attention, but I'm like, oh, well, Annabelle I already see that she is not feeling me, so I guess I'll just try to move on. Well, I was bowling with another female, being an idiot, not thinking of it. Annabelle kind of taps her on the shoulder and kind of like kicks her out, and starts bowling with me. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's some sort of hint there. And the girl who she had kicked out had said, like, "Hey James, like me and you should like leave. Let's go somewhere else." And Annabelle's like, "I brought him here. His ass is leaving with me. I brought him." And yeah, from that point on, I wasn't driving at the time, so she took me home, and yeah, we talked a little bit more in front of my house, and then we had our first kiss on our first date, and then kind of like the rest is really, now it's officially the rest is history. Mm-hmm. And 5 years later, we got to enjoy our time together.
Yeah. So going from that to your actual relationship, I mean, you guys were engaged and she was living with you and your family. Like, how were you guys together, especially like being engaged and living together?
It was at first when she got to know my family is very has a dark sense of humor. They have a dark sense of humor. They could be passive aggressive at times, but it's just to add on to the humor. They're kind of like people like nervous, like, are they being serious or not? So her first like introduction to them, she was very, very nervous and very scared. But my family, once we get to know them, welcome her open arms. And what seemed like that she wasn't going to be a good fit, not for me personally, but with my family, just because she was so different, the completely opposite of us. But throughout the time, throughout the months, throughout the years, it's like it basically felt like she took us in. Like she really established like a culture and really established a point of view in life that we all carry to this day. Where I was kind of like trying to be a cool guy, like trying to have my chest out. Like I only watch sports. I don't do any. I don't watch cartoons. I don't watch anime. I don't watch these shows. I don't watch big hits. Why? Because like most people don't watch them. But she opened my eyes to a whole new way of life. Like don't be ashamed. Like that's what you are, and that's what you like to watch. Own that shit, and that's how I kind of started living my life from that point on. Like own that shit. If you're into anime, who cares? Like own it. Like that's you. Don't worry about everybody else's opinion. And because of that, she, as much as it seemed like we were taking her in, she really took us in. And because of that, it really felt like a 50-50 like partnership. Like we really both, it went both ways for how she rubbed off on us and we rubbed off on her, and we both were able to benefit.
So all jokes aside, I found a fascinating point in your book, and it was that you were saving your virginity for the special person, and I mean it ended up being Annabelle. So can you kind of elaborate and explain your thought process on like how you cope with it now that she's gone, and then maybe like what you were thinking before while she was here?
Sure. So my initial process was this. So let me clear the air here. Everyone's first train of thought when they hear this is, well, you probably saved your virginity because you couldn't get anybody because you always constantly struck out. Well, every once in a while I hit an RBI or two. Like I didn't hit home runs, but I hit RBIs. There was some people I did attract.
Well, that girl even said, "Let's get out of here." So I mean, that's one story. So
I didn't. I don't know what they saw in me. I didn't have a beard, tattoos, or piercing. I don't know, but I did have opportunities through high school. But what was making me make that decision was, at the time I was going to high school and I graduated in 2011, was there I started to see a culture change where it was okay to put yourself out there. And like I said, I'm not one to judge, so if that's how you like to live your life, by all means. But in my personal preference, I was seeing a change where females and were putting themselves out there and you could see like to an extent to where it was a lot, dressing half naked all the time. Any sexual activity, they were bragging about it and stuff like that. It was kind of seemed like the turn of the tide where being a side girl, like the side chick, was better than being the main one. And I was noticing that culture in the parties. I was talking to people and stuff, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Like I couldn't understand. My parents both raised me to be kind of have a high moral compass onto that. If you get married, like it does, like you're just trying to find the one. You're not trying to find ones. You're trying to find just the one. And because of that, I was like, I'm not really in for this culture. And I'm not really. I wear my heart on the sleeve. I'm more of a relationship type of guy where I would like to settle with one person and that was it. But at that time, multiple partners was the way to go. And I'm sure it still is today. But just for my personal preference, it isn't. And so I made that decision in 2011, like in high school, like when I was graduating senior year. Like I'm just gonna save myself. I didn't meet Annabelle till I was 21. So I met Annabelle when I was 21, and after a few dates and stuff, after how we initially met each other, I kind of was like, yeah, she's going to be the one. Like things clicked so organically that I was like, this is going to be the one. So what we did was we talked about it, and I let her know that like I had saved myself. Because of that conversation we had, she decided that we should hold off and date for 6 months before we should even do that. So I held strict to it, and I did it. And I was like, I didn't see that I was crossing the line because I was like, this is the girl I'm going to end up with. This is the one I'm going to marry. So I didn't really think about like premarital sex or anything. Like it didn't cross my mind because I was like, this is the one. Like if it's not a random person, it's the one. So yeah, it was definitely different because at 21, like how many people do you find at 21 years old in this day and age, or like at that time, only a few years ago, 2014, that would save themselves, especially in a culture where we have social media. It's such an easy way to access people that it's definitely not one of a kind, but it's definitely it's hard to find a person who will save themselves, on purpose, and willingly. So once Annabelle and I, had that discussion, she had me wait 6 months to until we had that encounter. And I felt on top of the world, not because like, oh, the encounter or the experience of it, but I felt on top of the world because I found the one. I was able to go back to my parents and tell them like, Mom, this is the one. Like I found it. Not many 21-year-olds are going to be able to say that, you know. So I was very blessed and fortunate enough to say that. So that's how I kind of saved it. That was the background to why I decided to do it. I saved it with her. Now, how I deal with it now, I have a tattoo. You may not see it, maybe in another video, but I have on the back of my arm. It says, "Fate fell short this time." It's a quote I live by. And to me, to this day, fate will always fall short. No matter how much I believe in God, no matter how much like I prayed and stuff like that, it doesn't make me any less spiritual or faithful into God. But I always believe that had fell short this time because I had put all my eggs in this basket. I had made this decision. Like I said, it wasn't. I may have struck out a lot, but the opportunities had presented itself, you know, right there in front of me, and I still said no. And to be able to save myself and willing and put that hard work and determination, just be realistic. It is hard work and determination. Temptation is everywhere. As soon as you open a social media app, it's right there, you know. So to avoid the temptation, I was as loyal as could be, and you know, like I never went behind her back during the process. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you put two and two together. That and the area she had her cancer was in her private area, and I was young, so yeah, you put two and two together. You knew I couldn't do it. We both knew that was a part of some of the struggles that we had to deal with. Like we can't do that. So when I really learned to love her, I already fell in love with her within the 6 months, and we didn't touch one time. And once we did it, it didn't add like it was just a cherry on top. Like our whole foundation of love was already established. Like we loved each other, and it's hard at times to think about it because like not that I have any regrets that I saved myself, but it just hurts at times. Like it's crazy. It's kind of hard to wrap my mind around that. I saved myself. You know, I thought I would have my Disney Channel ending, you know, like a love story, and then you know she's gone. You know, so that's where I always feel like fate had fell short this time. It's definitely mind blowing. It hurts at times. You know, like it comes and goes and stuff like that. But ever since then, ever since her loss, you know, it's almost about to be 2 years, April 5th. So ever since then, like I still have saved myself again. It's kind of like a rebirth. Like I got to do it again, you know. It's not the life or the vision I had, you know. Like I didn't think I'd ever have to go through this type of stuff, but I am, you know, and I'm already here. So it's been rough, you know. Times it keeps me up at night. I stare at the wall sometimes, you know, thinking about it, but you know, having replays and stuff. But yeah, to be honest with you, it's been hard, you know. It comes and goes in waves, but to me, that's how I always feel like fate fell short this time. Thank you so much for watching our YouTube video. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending a time or even one moment of your day to be with us. Once again, my name is James Ruvalcaba and my cameraman is Josh Drop. You can buy my book, The Light Through the Pouring Rain, on my website, thelightthroughthepouringrain.com, on Amazon.com, or on Barnes & Noble. Links will be right below me right here. Future reference here for our Q&As. If you have any questions for myself, my cameraman Josh, or about the book itself, leave your questions in the comments below and we definitely will get to them in a future video. As always, thank you so much for your time.